What's up, dudes and girls? We have an interesting exercise tutorial for you today. It's the kneeling barbell squat. Now, this exercise comes directly from our home gym workout plan that we're releasing on PDF. Make sure you check it out in the link in the description. It has a bunch of different amazing exercises that you can perform right at home, in your garage, in your home gym, or even in a commercial gym if you have one available to you. So definitely check that out. And now it's time to get to the tutorial. Yeah. Let's get into position and talk about some of the things that you have to pay attention to in this exercise and what it's good for. The height is definitely going to be very important for you because what you're gonna be doing is placing yourself on your knees on the pad here. And since we're going a little bit heavier, this padding can pay off for your knees big time. You're gonna be going under the bar. And as you can tell, I'm sitting back on my heels and I am flexing in my hips quite a bit. And the bar is gonna be put on the kind of upper half of your traps there, much like you would do a typical squat. So as you can tell, the height of the bar is very important because if you're a little bit shorter, you're gonna have to go lower. If you're a little taller, you're gonna have to go higher. But this is basically the starting position and you're going to extend in your hips straight up. So that is the fully extended position. You're gonna be slowly flexing in the hips down. Now you can either touch the squatter bars or you can keep that tension there, just sit back on your heels, and then fully extend up, just like so. So very simple movement and quite a bit shorter than a standard squat. It's mainly focusing on your hip extension and flexion rather than the extension and flexion of your knees like a typical squat. Now, some of the drawbacks in this is that, of course, it cuts out half of the motion. So now, you're not involving as many muscles you would as a typical squat. But there's a reason for that, because we're trying to pinpoint the motion of those hips, the flexion and extension, taking the knees out of it. So what that's gonna do is, one, immediately put more emphasis on your glutes. Now, the quads aren't completely taken out. Of course, they are involved in knee extension, right? Quads, boom, help with that knee extension, squeeze, just like so, much like either in a squat or isolating them in a knee extension machine. But with this one, it's actually still using the rectus femoris because the rectus femoris helps out with the flexion and extension of the hips. So if you place like a dumbbell on your knee and you raise your knee up just like so, the rectus femoris is helping because it attaches in that hips there, so it's activating, and it'll do the same in this exercise. So you're still working the quads quite a bit. And another good thing about this is that it is definitely working your core activation and strength as well, because you have to hold that barbell, and since it's a higher position, it's raising your center of gravity a little bit more since it's placed on your back, you are really having to engage that core to stabilize that motion. So in comparison to an exercise, this one would be, let's say, the hip thrust. You're really working on the flexion and extension in your hips, having the barbell at your waist there in your hip crease, and you're extending through there. But this is very similar, although now the barbell is placed on the top of your traps there. So that's why it's engaging your core a little bit more, because now you're gonna have to balance and support that weight. Just like so. Getting down to the position, nice and slow, and squeeze at the top. So another thing you have to be cautious in this exercise is when you're fully extending, there's no bar to push against. There's no stopping point. So if you extend too much, that can put a little strain on your lower back. You have to be very cautious. That's why you have to contract and really hold your core as tight as you can, squeezing the glutes and your abs to support your spine and kind of like rotate your hips. So that way you're almost like really engaging those glutes and really squeezing that barbell at that upper portion of your back there to make sure everything is contracted and strong. So that way when you get in that full extension, your spine isn't loose and all of a sudden you could pull something or put extra tension on that lower back there. So you have to be cautious of that. As far as knee placement, you know, it could be anything that's comfortable anywhere from shoulder width to hip width. It all kind of depends on, you know, what you feel most comfortable with. There's not a big difference in the placement of your knees there, but you do want a very strong position on the bar. Don't want it too high up where it's kind of pulling you forward. You want it too low where it's uncomfortable to hold on your back. So it's pretty much what you would imagine a setup of a typical squat as far as where the barbell goes. But that is pretty much the full setup for the kneeling barbell squats. As you can tell, it's a shorter range of motion. It's not too complicated, which is nice, but it gets a lot of activation, those glutes, the core, a little bit in your quadriceps there. So it's just a different way to help engage those muscles and really try to focus on those muscles at hand, and in turn, it will transfer over into other exercises like squats, front squats, that will require a lot of that hip extension and power in the glutes and legs as well. So awesome exercise. You should definitely check it out. Hopefully this tutorial helped you out, and please check out our home gym exercise plan. The link is in the description. Really appreciate it. And as always, stay buff and see you next time. Yeah.